stories. Keyan, what's this?
Yeah, this is a Steve Jobs interview I found. This one's from, I believe, 94, right before
Magnolia Pictures.
he comes back to Apple, I believe. I shared this earlier this week, but it's a great talk. Just hearing him talk about what motivates him, how he views the people he works with, the types of people he likes to work with.
He has hair like EK.
Sort of.
He is Syrian, half Syrian. Although EK is not Syrian. Anyway, yeah. And then there was another interview. There's another talk that he gave a decade earlier, which was also really good, where he basically describes that I shared, I think this morning or maybe the day before, where he describes it to an audience who isn't familiar with computers or has computers, what a computer is. And I thought it was just probably one of the best succinct descriptions of a computer. He basically said, a computer is a machine that does very dumb and simple things very fast. That's basically how he described it. He's like, he's like, basically it's adding numbers and moving numbers around, but it does a lot of them very fast. It's actually not that. He made it seem approachable. It was really well done. And then he describes the future of computers, the internet. This is in 83, before we really had these things. It basically describes him wanting to produce an iPhone in 83. And I don't know, just really, really cool seeing him. He also speaks really well. He doesn't do a lot of ums and ahs, which is very rare. But I really enjoyed these two talks from.
I feel like I've seen this one before, but
you probably have.
I don't remember. I used to watch a lot of his stuff in the 2000s. Did I ever tell you I used to work at the like in high school? I had this this job that I would go to school, and then I had this like half school thing where I would go help this the school teacher, but like the school teacher would have me just go to do his basic, like his work or whatever. But instead of doing work, I would go hang out with the IT guy at the school. Did I ever tell you that?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I would go hang out with this school teacher for like a year, basically. I'd go hang out with this school teacher, and then he would send me to the IT guy to go hang out with him to do his like work. And it was the only school that had Macs. And so anyway, long story short, I would hang out with this IT guy, and he was like obsessed with Macs. And then that school teacher that I was helping, he was like a Vietnam vet who had like missing legs or whatever, and that's why I was helping him. But anyway,
It's not funny.
I just laughing.
No.
Anyway, long story short, they would always talk about Macs, and this was like right when Steve came back, and I didn't know about anything about Steve Jobs or about Macs or anything. Like maybe I knew about an Apple machine, but I didn't have any idea. And they would just talk about Macs the whole time, so they like kind of psyoped me into like liking Macs too. But they were like super expensive, and that's how I knew about Macs, was like in whenever that was, like 97 or 98 or whatever. And yeah, and then like that whole year I just was using Macs, and I would ask the dumbest questions, and they would talk about Steve Jobs and like all this stuff. And I remember the way they would talk about him, like he was like some god or something. This was like around that time.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking at the time, I was just like, the way they talked about him was just so weird.
Right.
But the older I got, the more I realized like why there was this kind of this reverence for him. Yeah. But it wasn't until much, much later in the 2000s once I realized why people revered the guy.
How old do you think he is in this interview?
Like 37 or 38 maybe.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is after he like came to Pixar and then founded Pixar.
Yeah, he's
or not founded Pixar, but
yeah, CEO of Pixar, CEO of Next Year, right before he goes back to Apple.
I tried to read the biography that was written about Steve Jobs. It's a thick boy.
Walter Isaacson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just got through the part where he was doing a lot of acid. That's like the most memorable thing I took away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
I didn't read that one. I listened to it though, but it was a great one. I love the ending.
Is it inspirational?
It's very inspirational. I think if you're an entrepreneur, it's a must read. I think if you want to be a founder, it's a must read because it talks about all sorts of like I don't know. He wasn't a religious guy, or I think he was like into like Hindu, or he must have been like into. He was kind of like he was like really a big fan of the Beatles, and like he was into arts and stuff like that. So he believed in in the arts. So he understood like a lot of like, I don't want to say Catholic beliefs, but a lot of things that Catholics believe in about symmetry and about things in thirds and all that kind of stuff, like stuff that you inherently know as a Catholic. And you see that in the way he does art and stuff like that. So he understood the arts and stuff like that. But there is, I forget where I was getting at this, but I do think that book, like understanding where he came from and understanding the way he looked at things, it's a good like baseline to be a founder. I think it should be must reading for a founder. I think.
You think so, Keyan?
I don't really remember my reading of it. I remember enjoying it. I remember it's the first time we kind of learned about his temperament. It tends to be kind of very high-strung, demanding. But I remember enjoying it. I read it a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Because he talks about his mistakes. Like he talks about this because he was young and successful, and he talks about like his mistakes. And then when he went to Pixar, he realized what he had done wrong the first time he went to when he was running Apple, because he would pit teams against each other. And then when he went to Pixar, he realized like he had just like these creative like masterminds. And then when he went back to Apple, he kept it really simple. And
he talks a lot about that in this interview, but I don't remember that, and I just watched this. But he talks a lot about John Scully, who was I think he brought on as a CEO to kind of help him, and how that kind of just created the wrong culture. Yeah. And that was maybe the biggest mistake that he had made.
Culture is so vulnerable.
It is. It's very vulnerable. It's elusive.
Yeah.
But it seems like his method for establishing culture is just finding the right people.
Yeah, it was good. It's a good book.
Yeah.
It's a good book. I don't know how we got started about the book, but yeah, I'll check it out. I like his. There's another one that he did where he talks about like the way he would run different sorts of aspects of his company. Like when he came back to Apple, like how he would run his PR, and then how he would run the marketing, and then how he would run his talent, and how he would leave certain people alone, and he even talked about it. He was just like, some people are artists, you just leave them alone, and there's some other people need to be handheld more. And then he would treat everybody like as their own person, and I 100% agree with that. Like I think you have to treat people differently, and I think he talks about a lot about that.
Yeah, like
you shouldn't treat everybody the same. You should treat everybody uniquely different. And I think he does that very, very well. Because I think that's a mistake a lot of leaders make, is they treat everybody the same.
It takes a lot of energy to treat people differently.
But you get the best results.
Because you have to understand people, and that takes time.
Yeah, but you get the best results that way.
Or does it take time? Do you think you're just supposed to meet someone and then understand exactly who they are?
It's not that. I don't think it takes that long to understand people.
Because you seem to be someone who does understand people on a level that's deeper than most.
I accept people. That's part of understanding them, I think.
I think if you really care about people, you will listen and you will do what's best for them.
Yeah.
Irregardless of the outcome. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like obviously you want them to stay, but like at the end of the day, if you really do care about them, then you'll just do what's best for them.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And then you won't. I mean, you care about the outcome.
Because then you're letting yourself kind of be led by intuition.
Well, you're letting yourself be led about what's best for them and not what's best for you.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
That's a big that's a big
and that
difference.
that actually keeps people and doesn't push them away.
Right.
And then you just let God decide the rest. Boom, full circle.
Shout out to God.
Doves.
Boom, Jobs. Anyways, yeah.
Shout out to God and Steve Jobs.
Need to watch. Oh, at the end, he did talk about. At the end of the book, though, he did say he goes. He says that he sees a bunch of light at the end. That, or maybe it was Walter Isaacson. He says that he sees light because he was dying.
Yeah.
And they were seeing him, and then he said that his wife said that he just kept seeing. He was like, "Oh, look at all that beautiful light! Look at all that beautiful light!" And then that was like the last thing that he said before he died.